Hello, welcome to our men's NPLSA season preview 4-1 game at a time, our third and final part of our season previews before we return to the regular season for 2026 for the last time in these sessions. Alessio, David Grant, Marc Talbot to take you through all the clubs and our predictions. But before that, Marc?
Yes, shout out to Pega Sports for decking us all out in our tops today. So thank you very much to Costa and the team there at Pega. And thank you to Pega, Macron and Belgravia, who most clubs will all know provide all these kits. We've got all of them up that we were able to get our hands on as our backdrop. So thank you very much for that. Hopefully they've all been released by their clubs by this stage. Otherwise, have a look and see what's behind us. But again, shout out to all those guys and Pega again for decking us out.
Absolutely. With that, we'll head into our season preview for the men's NPL, starting off, as we have done, in alphabetical order. First comes is Adelaide City. Finished second last year. Luis Loretanzio was their top goal scorer. They've had a great preseason by all accounts. I guess, Marc, starting with you, your thoughts on them. Even last year, they look a good competitor.
Look, I'm actually really excited about them this year. They've strengthened again this year. They haven't lost a lot of players. They've lost a few, but I'll let you guys go through those. But from my end, they're an exciting group. And the one thing I think is going to really propel them to get closer to Metro this year, like bring that gap from what Metro have been doing the last few years to tighten it all up, is they've got a real good camaraderie amongst the players. That they're all pulling in the same direction. They're all really, from what I can tell, they're all really good friends. We saw that video actually of them after that game where they were all sitting around at Nonna's place.
Yeah.
And it just shows you what happens behind the scenes a little bit. And I think that's a really good key and a really big thing in all teams, that if they're getting along off the pitch, it shows on the pitch. And I think that's really going to aid them this year. And I'm expecting massive things from them. And for me, one of their biggest players, I think he won their best and fairest last year, Noah Smith. He ranked
full season now.
He only played half a year. He was in the team of the year. Could you imagine what he's going to do with a full season under his belt at Adelaide City?
A freshly A-League player too.
Yes, and I just think he's going to take them again. Like I said, I think he's one of the big players for me. And I think if he carries that form from last year, then it's going to be really, really tight.
David?
Speaking of really, really tight, this Pega shirt, thanks very much. It's a snug fit in my girth. But I would agree with your sentiment there, Marc. I think Adelaide City were maybe a little bit slow to start last year, but under Vas Parhas, they got it together eventually, accelerated their way up the table. I think they finished second in the ladder, if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah. So they certainly came a long way. The club as a whole, when we talked earlier in the last episode about the WNPL, the club as a whole seems to be just very cohesive just now. It just seems to be a good, positive vibe about them. And as you said, if they're doing those kind of things outside of training and game day, when they're going to Nonna's house for pasta, although I'm not sure where our invite was.
At whatever time of night it was.
There's obviously a real cohesion there behind the scenes, and that's really important when you're managing a group of 20 odd players or so. Like you said, Noah Smith will be interesting to see how he can go if he can play the full season this year, which we anticipate he will. So, I mean, I've kind of repeated everything you've just said, but only because I think it's really, they're all valid points.
Just before you go, Alessio, I was going to say a few of the ins in particular. They have brought in a few players, but I'll let you expand on more of those in general. But the thing that probably excites me most is the forwards they've brought in.
Yeah, I'll mention a couple of them now. Obviously, Asad Kasumovic returns to the club. Dominic Costanzo comes across from Apia. Francesco Scamitzi from Modbury, and Giorgio Parhas, Vass's son, has come over from Adelaide United youth team. And then Cosmo Groff has come back as a second choice keeper as well. But they are very exciting attacking names, and it probably helps them out in the goals department. I mean, last year they had no regular number 9. Obviously, Matthew Daub was there. He was injured a bit. Yep. They had Kabidi there. They had Kamau there. They had a few other players. Yuki Kitano still there this year as well. And they just couldn't really find someone who would get 10-plus consistent goals. Laura Latanzi obviously was a great scorer in an eventual part of the season, but now they have a regular number 9. They probably got a 10 there and 2 wingers. And then in behind that is your classic Buko Karacha. And now the back 4, you've got Noah Smith, Oliver Weston. You've got these players that have been there a long time. Lewis Kylo, the youngster.
They brought back Bradley Corbo as well.
Yeah, Corbo, that's the other one I think I missed there. at right fullback or centre back as well. So it really seems like they're filled the gaps they were maybe missing last year. I mean, they came very close to the grand final. They only lost out second leg penalty shootout against Croydon at home. So I think they've really established their signings to be brought back up there this year.
One player you missed in that when you're talking about the Bukos and the Karachas is Bressan. He was brilliant for them last year for a good period, and at times I thought he was carrying them at times last year. So I mean, you still got players like him to come. Like how do you fit them all in?
Kurt Kwamana came midway through the season as well. Yeah. So I think they've really solidified a team that has got the depth. Yep. And you see later on our predictions, I think when you have depth like that, it means you go far in a lot of competitions.
Not only that, to add on, I'm not sure of the exact ages, but it's a relatively young squad, minus, the likes of John Hall, Nicholas Bucco. It's a young squad, but as you say, they've still, with a young age, they've solidified very much so.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about some of the outs defensively, etc., and around the squad as well, but you can see with their squad list that we've got here in front of us, they've picked up a few from their reserves that have been promoted. Yep. And they've actually been they're part of the senior team now consistently. And I think the bench most weeks will consist of these guys. And it'll be a theme throughout this episode, especially with these new age rules, to see how clubs can work with these young guys. Like, fortunate for some of them, they've had young players who've played seasons, had senior experience. Some other clubs, this rule's come across them and they've kept their old players, and now they just have to sign someone to fill the gap. Is he going to play? Is he going to not? Has he got the experience? Has he not? We just got to do it to fit in the rules. Yep. I think Adelaide City done it well, where they've got a few players clearly have come through last year, have been in the successful reserves teams as well, and now they're filling their senior squad with them.
Next up, Adelaide Comets. They finished much lower down the table than they perhaps normally would. Jaden Labasso, their top goal scorer, has left. Last year, they scored the least amount of goals in the NPL and conceded the equal most with Para Hills. Haven't made too many signings, I suppose. They are a club that are almost trying to build back to what we have seen in previous years. Yeah, well, they had I would say an aging squad a few years ago, and I say that with as much respect because they were fantastic players. They were just getting on that higher 20s and early 30s when Welsh has left, Lecornu's left, and players like that. So last year was a real tough year for them, I think, with Con Antonio. He was really hamstrung by what he had to work with in terms of having to try and keep the best he could, do the best he could. And they did well considering that, like I said, they lost some big players. And then this year, I think it's going to be even tougher. They've lost Labasso. They've lost Daniel Vaughan in goal. And I think that is a massive out for them. Yes, they've replaced him with a good keeper, don't get me wrong. But Vaughan has been one of the top keepers for years. So it is hard to then replace someone like that. And they brought in Delingus from Para Hills, who is a fantastic keeper. But like I said, Vaughan, year after year, has been at that top level or at top level in our state. So you're sort of going, okay, it's a bit of a change, very much a changing of the guard at Comets. They're going to be quite a young side as well. And it's going to be a tough year for them.
Yeah, again, I echo everything you've said there, Mark. I think they've sort of hemorrhaged players a little bit for the last 2 years or so, and I think Con Antonio last year had a very difficult job in his hands. And as you say, this year they've lost key players. To lose your top striker in your lowest scoring team in the NPL that's a fairly significant blow. Right. And your goalkeeper as well, your main goalkeeper as well. I think Delingus is a good pickup for them.
Yeah, it's a great pickup.
Very good goalkeeper, and he'll probably do okay for them. Might even end up being goalkeeper of the year. Who knows? But you don't become goalkeeper of the year unless you're busy and you stand out. So I think it's going to be a very tough year for them. I don't have them tipped to do very well this year, unfortunately. And of course, Demi Pana as well moved on. You think maybe he would have been someone who could have stepped into that coaching role, but he's moved on to Vipers, so he's not around either. So there just seems to be a lot of players moving away. I think their WNPL side, as we mentioned in the last episode, will probably do quite well. But I think their NPL side will struggle.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, 4 ins that we had confirmed: Jake Porter, Yanni Delingus, Cameron Carlton, and Gildas Gonwakezwa, who are interesting, obviously young signings as well. Jake Porter probably didn't hit the heights that he expected of himself and maybe was put on him, being the number 9 for MetroStars. Delingus, we know, has had a great couple of years in the NPL. Gildas Gonwakezwa, he was part of the youth team system here in SA for a while, and I believe he went over interstate to play for other A-League youth teams there as well. But yeah, obviously this new coach has come in brought a couple of his, shall we say, reserve players from reserve NPL levels to come and have an opportunity with him there. And obviously they've been at successful Birkalla reserve sides who have been some of the best in the NPL and State League Ones in the past few years. So obviously it's just another young coach bringing some young players for an opportunity. But I think compared to some of the other ins and outs these other clubs have had, it's going to be a tough season for Comets.
I think there's also going to be a lot of pressure on Porter, unfortunately, because he's come in to score the goals. And he's a fantastic player. I don't think he was able to show, as you said, his abilities at Metros as much as what we would have liked to have seen. But it's going to be tough for him. He's got to get the service. But he'll be able to score goals. And I think he'll be their top goal scorer. But it's whether he can get that service. And that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, service is key, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's coming through from midfield, what's supplying him. Because you could be the best striker in the world, but if you've got no service, then you're restricted.
Just one more thing to add on Comets. We saw them play at Ellis Park last year more than others. David, Mr. Ellis Park himself, there every other week. I guess just as a general point, how did you see the experience there, being on the outskirts of the city, a great backdrop?
I think it's probably one of the nicest looking grounds because it does look towards the city skyline. A lot of clubs have got their media or their scaffold, the media room or their scaffold in the main stand.
Yes.
And then you're looking out across the pitch at empty fields, and very often, that's the more barren area of of spectators.
Yeah.
So it would be good, I think, if you had your scaffold on another side looking back at your ground. The other thing, of course, is the setting sun. So at Ellis Park, the sun sets behind you, so you're never looking into blinding sunlight at dusk, sort of thing. So the setting's great, and it's nice to be able to see, that's Adelaide City skyline in the background. For some reason I was allocated Ellis Park on
A number of times.
very many times, and you do sit under those gum trees where the birdies sit often and defecate upon you, which is also a little bit of a problem. But it is a lovely setting. I actually quite like the pitch, but I don't play on it. I've heard a few players complain about the pitch there. But I think
it's definitely in the second half of the season. At the start, it looks pristine. It's cut specifically. It's blocked off for anyone else to use, but maybe after the second half of the year, it's a bit more muddy.
Yeah. Lovely club rooms as well. They've come a long way. I mean, to harp on about myself again, I played against, they were Adelaide Raiders in the old Sassel days in the 90s. And, they've come such a long way. We played them at Myler Oval when our pitch up here was being resurfaced. And that was an absolute quagmire. And, that was probably about 1998 or something like that, 1999. And look at them now, up in the NPL. But I've got a feeling they might not be in the NPL after this year.
Ooh, there's a bit of a hint for you.
We'll go on to Adelaide United, the youth team, of course, for the A-League side. They finished fifth, just got into finals, and their finals campaign was pretty dramatic in the end. Brodie Burkett was their top goal scorer in the end, and we've already seen in the past few weeks that, I don't know if this is too bold to say, but he's almost an A-League level striker already. I suppose for them, they do have quite a few of their A-League players that are on that younger side listed. What are your opinions? New coach as well, with Paul Vannis coming in?
New coach, but the thing, I don't think there'll be much in a change of the way they want to play football, because the fact is they're going to try and create those players to be able to step into the A-League and play that style of football straight away, and that's the way Ayrton would like it to be done. So I dare say it would be very similar to what the A-League's what they're trying to do in the A-League. Keep the ball, play out from the back, find those wide players, especially get the fullbacks up high, and I've noticed a lot lately, Barnett coming into the midfield from the right back role. So I expect them to play very much a similar style of football. It's just a matter of, you just never know what's going to come out of Adelaide United because of age, because of the turnover, how many players are going to come back from the A-League, because effectively you've still got Crawford, Stanisic, Phyllis, can all still technically play in the NPL in this season, but then they'll miss part of the season because they have to have the regimented 4 weeks off. Otherwise, it breaks employment rules and things like that. So many different things can happen with Adelaide United. And again, I think it's just going to be another season of who knows what's going to rock up on the day. Again, Brodie Burkett can still be playing in the NPL, and we could be seeing him score 3 goals a game type thing if you look at his A-League scoring record at the moment. But you just never know with what's going to actually rock up.
4 players looking at this list, born in 2010, 1 in 2011.
Who's that?
Adelaide United.
No, which player?
That is Joel Ochieng. born in
Right,
2011.
By which time I was already in my 40s. Look, Adelaide United are impossible to predict really at this level because, you know, at the start of the year, they've got tend to have a different team from what they do in the middle of the year. And again, a different team by the time of the end of the year comes around. So they are very difficult to predict. The other thing I always sort of feel a little bit when I watch Adelaide United is, you know, I wonder, are these guys playing for the team or are they playing for a spot in the A-League team? Because it's essentially a B team, right? It's essentially a reserve side. And so I always get the sense there's maybe a little bit more competition between the players. They're maybe not quite as cohesive as some of these other teams are because they possibly view each other as competition for a spot in an A-League team. Very hard to predict, as you mentioned, because of the changes in the rules and so on, and who can play when and who can't and so on. So tough team to predict. I don't think if they make finals they might just scrape in, but they're never quite good enough, are they? Really?
Alessio?
Yeah, I mean, you see it year in and year out that they got close to being relegated last couple of seasons. Then they had a great crop that all got pushed onto the A-League. And I think the last few remnants since they've won that NPL, it's been getting less and less. The players have dissipated from there. They're not a lot of them coming down. You don't really see Alligators, Yules, they don't come down anymore. A lot of the players that are there, they probably have a bit more pressure now with the A-League team and all the injuries and the less players. They have pressure to, if they're coming back down there, they have to be the best player there. Otherwise, how do you think you can play in the A-League next? So I think it's getting more like that for this Adelaide United youth team where your Stanisic's, your Crawfords, Burke, if he comes down now, it's not going to be for long. It's not going to be for enough for them. And I think with some of these young players coming through now, some of them they've been picked up from interstate youth teams, which haven't been playing in the top flight of their state either. No. So we're not even sure if they're really at our top flight level as well. So I think it's going to be one of the most struggling years, I think, for them. Talking about the squad, obviously they're young talents, but they've had their crop of letting players go for the age rules too. And I don't have high hopes for them this year.
Callan Alagich, by all accounts, a very good young player as well, is listed in the squad too.
Well, it's funny. I've heard reports that he, at the same age as Ethan, he's probably a better player. And I'm like, wow, that's a pretty big call. I mean, look at what Ethan's gone on and done. He's captained the Australian under-23 side. He's probably one of my favourite players in the A-League. And I'm like, if he's on the same levels as Ethan, then we've got another top player on our hands coming through the books. And I tell you what, watch out for that young lad. That's going to be very exciting. I think I might have to try and get his signature now. So I've got it for when he does hit the hypes, because I haven't got Ethan's yet. And I'm like, I've got to get that one before he goes overseas.
Get it on your chest so you can get it tattooed.
I don't need to go that far. I don't think the missus would like that.
Only just turned 16 as well, did Callan Alagich. So definitely a player to look out for. Campbelltown City up next. I think probably safe to say one of probably the biggest disappointment of last year, looking at the league table and probably what we expected of them at the beginning of the season, the caliber of players they have as well. Marc?
I think biggest disappointment is probably a bit harsh on them, but they probably didn't perform as well as they would have liked and what we probably did predict it. So, it was probably a disappointment on that side, but a big disappointment. I don't know if it was
I suppose when I say big disappointment, it's more in the fact of
they're
a team. Yeah, they're a team that should be, should be top three, even top two.
Yeah, and they did struggle last year, and that's also obviously a coaching change. Dan Mullen trying to implement his footballing ideas and things like that on what was a relatively structured team the previous years. So a few changes here and there. I think not having a set number one goalkeeper also probably played a part in their season last year, because they were flipping between Magetto and Centofanti. This year, that's changed. They've brought in a number one. Simple as that. There's no two ways about it. You bring Dan Vaughan in, you're bringing him as a number one keeper, straight out. They've also brought in, obviously, Harry Conant from Para Hills, fantastic player. A lot of clubs were after him, and they brought in Comets' leading goal scorer in Labasso. So their firepower this year is probably gone through the roof. And from all accounts, Marino is looking ridiculously fit. If they can keep him fit and on the park, we know he's going to score goals. It's that simple as that. He doesn't do anything but score goals. Like you give him the ball to score goals, he'll score your goals. He's shown it week in, week out, year on year. So I think there's big expectations on them this year.
I think the key in for them as well is maybe Jaden Labasso up front. So they've got that partnership with Marino. If that can gel, then I think it'll be pretty potent in attack. Last year, I remember commentating on a couple of their games, and at the back, they were just a mess. They were played 3 or maybe 4 at the back at various times, depending whether they were in possession or not in possession. But there was just no cohesion. They didn't seem to understand where each was. It was a real mess at the back. I forget the name of the defender who played at the back, the Solomon Islander player.
Javin Way-Alec.
Yeah, just looked all over the place. I mean, he looked like he's got potential. And I know he left halfway through and I think he went to Cobras from memory. But at the back, through that first half of the season, I just felt they just were a mess, a shambles at the back, if you like. But they seem to get it together laterally. And so if they can start off well, it's like we said before, if you can start off well and you're not chasing the pack, then that stands you in good stead. I think up front, if Marino and Labasso can gel and they're good at the back, I think they'll do okay.
I was just going to say as well, they're probably one team that I don't think I got to cover too much, but one of the players I enjoyed watching was James Carocci, no longer at the club. Not to put you on the spot, but was probably one of the players that was a bit of again, for me, in the limited time that I probably saw Campbelltown, was a bright spark for them.
Yeah, he had a interesting impact at the start of the year. Wasn't really starting too many games, coming off the bench, and then midway through he ended up starting on the wing, then into the midfield, and he often got brought off at halftime. Obviously, the game had changed that far that they needed to change something up and move something around. He was the one to make way a couple of times, but it was interesting to see as well in their Player of the Year votes. He was actually one of the top 5 players, and that's from a player who started less than half of the games as well. Even in the league votes as well, he was getting some from the referees, which was interesting too. He's obviously departed. He's gone to Melbourne Victory's NPL team in the VPL 1. But they've brought in some great midfielders as well. One everyone missed here, Jordan O'Doherty.
I was about to mention,
has come across from Campbelltown. They've also signed an import fullback in Kenya, Fujinami. He's a right fullback of Asian descent. And that was one thing I wanted to mention as well. From the last season, they had no imports in the team until Javin Way-Alec, he moved later on. But otherwise, they had lost two of the best imports in Yoshikawa and in Matsumoto. Yeah. And they were two players that were pivotal in them winning championships, being top 2, top 3 every single year. So to see them pick up another one, as we said in previous podcasts, David, you never really see a bad Japanese player come into our league. So hopefully we can see great things from him as well. But I think they have an embarrassment of riches up top, just like Adelaide City. I mean, we're talking about Marino. Josh Moe was team of the season 2024.
Oh, yeah. How do you...
Alessio Malisi is still there as well. They've got a youngster in Julian Ilegio as well, who has come up front and started a lot of their preseason games and scored a lot as well. You've got those three with Conant and with Labasso. Jordan O'Doherty can play on the wing as well. Yeah. So I think they're going to have to try and figure something up front. But I think hopefully that helps their play style a bit better. I know David watched a few of their games last year. They were a bit long bally, a bit hit it up to Alex Mullen and try and work off that. I think you've got some players around now that can a lot of them can play football and can try and build something up from the back where they're not as forced.
I think this will give. We'll see. I actually think we'll see Labasso play a different position this year. I don't think he'll play as a forward this year. I think they got him in as more of a mid to play in the midfield, to fill that midfield out so that he can still play with the likes of Murray and the other players there. I think that you'll see. I think Labasso will probably play in the midfield.
I think the same with Marino.
We're going to have to play a 2-2-6 formation otherwise.
Yeah, I think the same with Marino. I mean, I watched a couple of their games as well, and he's been playing in the 10 as well. Yeah. So you've got that midfield, as long with Adam Piscineri, Alex Mullen. Yep. You got some of these players that have been there. You can see why they've let go a couple of those players as well. But I think they've got like a quartet up there that is got a lot to work with. You just hope that they can figure it all out together and no one gets too selfish, I guess.
Up next, Croydon, at least in our case, a bit of the enigma of last year. I think we all said they were going to finish bottom 3 or whatnot.
I didn't.
I said most. Won the grand final, of course. A massive achievement for them, a massive game that night too. One of the best grand finals I think we've seen in quite a few years in terms of drama. But this year, they did finish third in the league. What do you think, Marc?
Yeah, look, I think they'll continue on from where they left off. I actually think they're going to, under the guidance of Sonas, they had a fantastic year. I think they're going to continue that. Like we've spoken to the coaching staff on numerous occasions, and it doesn't seem to
For
change.
negative or for worse, for better.
But just as football general chats as well. I've known Tony for a number of years as well, and just the general chat and the feel about the place. Yes, they've let a couple of players go. Obviously, Andre Carl's gone, and some of their long-standing players have gone as well. Obviously, in Brazzali, but Brazzali didn't get a chance to play last year because of the fact the back four was that settled and that strong. He just couldn't get a look in. So straight away, you're sort of going, okay, cool. They brought a couple players in. They've still got Margouche at the back. They've still got, for me, one of the best centre-backs of last season in Balmapour is still there. So, again, I think think they're going to be quite strong this year, and I think they'll be right up there.
I think they're almost, in a way, a bit of an underrated squad.
Yes.
I think in that sense, too. That
Yep.
They have a lot of... There's no one that really stands out to me as, this is the best player in the league. But again, they're a team, they're a massive collective.
They're a fantastic. And this is where I think part of the reason, again, why they did so well was because they all pulled in the same direction. They all got along well with each other on and off the pitch. And this is what I was saying about Adelaide City earlier. So I think that really worked in their favour last year. And I think it will obviously aid them this year as well.
Yeah, an ensemble cast, as they say. So a team of... very good players without any standout, and all looking out for each other as well. That's the impression I had. They did fly under the radar a little bit for us. I think we didn't probably expect them to do quite as well as they did in the end.
No.
But they did enough, and they did it when it counted. That was the difference for them.
Yeah, their run at the back end of the season was what got them there, and it just continued.
Ironically, which included that 4-0 loss to Metro in the league on a Wednesday night or whatever it was.
Yeah. So look, I think they'll come in buoyed with optimism, and as you say, they are missing a couple of players that have left, but I think the core group is still there as far as I'm aware, and I think they'll do very well. Every time you talk to Tony Saka, he's running a marathon, but when you can, get a hold of him, it's all very positive.
Yeah.
They seem very content with what they've done in terms of their pre-season, and George Souness is a very good coach. I think we all agree on that. I expect them to do quite well this year.
Yeah, a couple of ins, of course. Yuya Kato from West Adelaide, Cameron O'Doherty from Mowbray Jets, Oliver Trimboli, and Freddie Muller from Adelaide City. I think, again, another team looking to push some more attackers into the mix. Obviously, you're going to have the two Trimbolis up front there now, Luca and Oliver, as well as Yuya Kato, who you got to watch a lot of times for West Adelaide. And I even watched him and play against my team in pre-season. He was one of the best imports I've ever seen. I guess last year he just didn't put it together for as many games in a row.
Japanese.
Yes. And I think he's got immense potential. And he's a very tall player as well. So I assume he'll be up front there with a 9 potentially. But I think a main part for them as well is keeping their players fit. We saw how good young Ned Stiles was near the end there. Chris Vivian in the grand final as well. And now you've got another player in Cameron O'Doherty who's had some injury issues for the past few years. As well as Oliver Trimboli as well. So hopefully if they can keep their players fit, they've got another big core squad.
And this is one of the things that were key on was strengthening that depth and you bring in Trimbolis and that, but they've already got one of the Trimbolis there. They've already got Oscar Slattery, who had a great season last year, and probably one of the highlight was Passia John coming out of nowhere for them. I really didn't expect what he produced last year, and he was just fantastic.
Yeah, I expect him to get picked up maybe somewhere else as well, to be honest, maybe interstate or somewhere else, because he was, I'm pretty sure he's only 22 still, 23 maybe.
Yeah.
So I thought he might have had a shot somewhere, maybe in an A-League youth team or not. But it was massive to see him re-sign for the club as well.
Ned Stiles is a perfect example of what we were talking about before, about a player who, you don't really notice through the year because he's just being consistently good. He's not making any mistakes and sort of flies under the radar a little bit. Then the big moment comes, the grand final comes, and he was an absolute standout of that.
Well, I think he only played 2 league games in the end because he only
he
came near the end.
That's true.
So no one knew who he was until he came back in.
That's true, but maybe not the best example of format that I should have made. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that that when it came to that big moment, really stood out, and I think there's a lot of players in that team that are a bit like that. Although, you know how Balmapour hit my car in that match, and I said I'm going to have a word with Balmapour. He came up to me at the celebration of football.
Oh, did he?
David, you were going to have a word with me about hitting the car. I was like, it was fine.
I was going to say, you looked up at him and went, it's fine.
You can hit my car anytime you want, pal.
That was at Beograd, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, with Antonis Pagonis.
Yeah, well, speaking of, we'll move on to FK Beograd. Look at me segue. I'm a natural.
Hey.
Finished 4th. They're only game in finals last year was intense and dramatic, and somehow in a way that didn't come on the positive end of it. Anthony Trimboli was massive for them last year. Lorenzo Baselli as well coming in, another player who maybe just lacked consistency at times, having seen the quality we had seen, just not having that every game. So I guess your thoughts on...
Yeah, look, they again, another club that's brought in an abundance of attacking options to already complement the attacking options they had. I mean, Trimboli was fantastic for them last season. When they moved him from the wing to play as an out-and-out striker, it completely changed him, and he just went from strength to strength. I think we'll see, and I'm going to put the pressure on him here because we've spoken off camera before, but I'm expecting a lot more from Baselli this year. I've spoken to Lorenzo, and he said to me, he goes, do you know what? After the season finished, he goes, I'm so looking forward to a break. He hasn't had an off season for the last 4 years.
Of course.
Because he's been here, there, and everywhere, and playing in America, and then going back home, or playing in just basically playing non-stop. So goes, look, I'm just looking forward to having an off season and then coming back in for a proper pre-season and stuff like that. So I'm really keen to see what he can do this year. Now that he's had his break and he's getting back into it, I think we could see him go to another level. FK Beograd, the only thing that concerns me for FK Beograd is possibly a little bit light at the back. They've just lost Banjak, who was a regular starter for them. They brought in Toriani to partner Cooper. Well, they didn't bring him in to partner Cooper Nunn, but they brought him in to strengthen the squad, knowing they had Toriani, Banjak, and Cooper Nunn. Banjak's since moved across to West Adelaide. So that does worry me that they might be a little bit light at the back if they get an injury or a suspension. But overall, again, I think they're going to be there or thereabouts this year and pushing finals or playing finals.
Just to touch on Lorenzo Baselli as well, a good import because he's very much someone that has engaged, I think, with the local league and sort of
brilliant.
Been very outgoing towards us, and I think other players as well. We've seen him, hang out with players from other clubs, and it just sort of the model import, I think, for any league, really just embracing the culture and the locals.
He loves it, and it's just been great to have someone like that come in and really show everyone back home where he's from as well what's Adelaide's all about.
David?
Yeah, I mean, just to echo that, I think there was a significant increase in our Italian and American viewership when Lorenzo Baselli was on, because there's that kind of interest that's come in from the outside. And yeah, very engaging young gentleman, very easy on the eye. And when he's on the park, I think technically he's probably one of the best players that we have in that league. That goal he scored, the volley he scored, that came over from the right, and he's hit it as it's come across him. Class really,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing FK Beograd again this year. I think Adrian Deloy has been doing a few coaching courses in the off-season.
He's one of, actually, there's not many that have, well, I don't know if he's got his full qualification yet, but I know he was working on his A license.
Yep.
So he'd only be one of a few that are actually in Adelaide that are that level now.
Yeah.
He was actually on the course with, of all people, Eugene Galakovic as well.
Yeah. So and he can only have benefited from that, and that, that beneficiary, if you like, is passed on to the players, the playing group, and ultimately the league. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Adrian does, maybe a little bit different from last year in terms of his tactics and his approach, because he's got a whole lot more wisdom under his belt.
Well, he's brought in a couple of players that were very successful with him as an assistant at Campbelltown. Obviously, Brandon Santafanti, Alexander Woodlands, Marco Toriani's come across, Daniel Atkinson, who's played in New Zealand, and obviously Abu Hussein, who tore them apart in Para Hills, probably one of the only league wins during the year against Beograd away. But I have massive expectations of Beograd. Their team has stayed together now for a number of years in the NPL. They cracked the code of making finals for the first time in a while last year. And this year, with the ins they've had, and obviously another one missing as well, Marc, Jared Clark has left to Birkalla as well. So that's another one at the back. Again, might be light. But I think with the back four across there, and then knowing they're all the number one player for that position, you got Falco, you've got the left backs, you've got the centre backs. They're all there now, and especially the goalkeeper, which was a contentious one for a number of seasons now. They have Woodlands, who's going to be the number one no matter what. But yeah, the attacking again, they've got a bunch to choose from. But I have massive expectations for them, and it was a big key signing, keeping Baselli, keeping Trimboli, because I know Baselli had contacts that were after him in the off season, but they never eventuated. They never ended up calling back. So he said, I'm going to stay here then. I want to stay at Beograd. So I have big expectations, and I expect them to finish quite high.
Next up, MetroStars had, I think, from all accounts, looking online, I think they had one of the longest seasons in Australian football due to their cup run, championship, the league season. They're probably a bit knackered. I guess this year, again, they lose their top goal scorer for almost a third year in a row, I think now, something about that. But they've also brought in Andre Carl, who was their greatest enemy almost in the off-season for quite a while.
Look, Metro, the thing is we know what we can expect from them. They're going to be up the top somewhere. They're well coached. They've got the players. They've got a squad. They've promoted from within. I think they've promoted 3, maybe 4 players from within this year alone. So they're always looking to see what players they can bring in. They've lost a couple of players, yes. Barbiero, I think, has now officially retired. They've lost Porter, obviously, after the Australian Championship. But they've recruited well. They've picked up some of the best players, like Jesse Francesca from Modbury, a captain, a leader, and they've added that to their depth as well. So, I mean, like I said, we know what we can expect from them. I think they'll be up there. They'll be up one of the top clubs for me.
Yeah, again, I echo what you're saying. I mean, the number of players coming in. I think last year we talked about how does Danny Greystone appease everybody in that team when there's so many new players coming in and not a lot leaving, really. Noah Blazeka was a bit of a surprise, I think, for me coming into that MetroStars side. I didn't really expect that. But other than that, it's a strong-looking side again. I think they'll do very well over the home and away season. How they do in finals, not sure. They have a history of
doing a West Adelaide.
Yeah.
West Adelaide women's. There's something about that. I don't know what it is.
MetroStars have a history of doing a West Adelaide, and West Adelaide have a history of doing a MetroStars. So I'll be interested to see how they go and how Danny Greystone manages the large number of big name players that have come in and possibly egos with it. Let's be honest. There's probably a couple of guys coming into that team thinking I should be in this team regardless, but I'm competing against someone else who also thinks they should be in that team. So there'll maybe be a bit of a clash there, but he's managed it well in the past, I think. But yes, unusual. 3 strikers, 3 top scorers in the league have all been MetroStars players, and they've all left. That's Daniel Koski, then Nagamatsu, and then last year, of course, Owen Windsor, who spent most of his time complaining about stuff, but he won't be doing that in Australia anymore. He's gone to Bath, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to add as well, Alessio, before I go to you, their championship campaign. I think obviously they did pretty well making the knockout stages, but a massive takeover was the amount of injuries I think they had, especially early on. I think, Neon Kuru, I think got injured. I think he's fine now, but injured. Cam Woodfin now has a long-term injury. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 others that were injured that came. Vissa had one as well, which is just sort of the slightly worrying thing that, they've had a season that was that long, and towards the end they just started to sort of break in a way.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting as well, noting some of the signings that have come in, the age of a couple of them. I mean, we are going to talk about the rules, I'm sure, at some point a bit further, but to bring in Andre Carl, Jesse Francesca, Binyam Kabidi, Vinny Barbaro, Noblazeka. Vinny Barbaro and Noblazeka are on the younger side.
Yeah.
And as a centre-back and a goalkeeper, you've got Blazeka, who will be in between whether Bar stayed or not, with D'Angelo, with those centre-backs. That's another young one to come in, the 2 Noahs. That would be a good combination to have.
Make it easy for us.
Yeah. But with those 3 attackers, it's interesting to see how they're going to figure out this, because Danny Greystone has managed those players a lot in the past, but he's also not used his bench a lot in the past too.
Yeah.
And if his bench this year is going to be
stronger,
either stronger, or is it going to be all the young players he's had to put in the team to fill the rules?
Yeah.
Because if you have Andre Carl starting, Francesca starting, maybe Kabidi's on the bench, the rest are going to have to be the kids that have been brought up.
But you've also still got Chittadini, you've still got Satira. So they're both effectively have played out in the wing or played in that 10 role as well. And you've still then got Hamish Gow, who's going to be a starter. But then once you get to sort of halfway through the season, you've still got the likes of Woodfin to come back, Mollis to come back from their long-term injuries as well. And I think both of them are due to be back I think Woodfin's actually ahead of schedule, but they're still to come back.
Yeah, especially with Woodfin being an import too. Yeah. He has to play in that circumstance. You can't not play him.
I actually went to MetroStars this week and saw Arby Mollis. He doesn't think he's that far away, but
that's what I'm saying.
It'd be exciting to see him come back because he's so much potential. We've just seen so little of him. I was just going to add that they didn't start pre-season until the middle of January, but that's because obviously they didn't finish the end of the season until sort of end of November, beginning of December.
But yeah, I think the age is a bit interesting, especially seeing as a club like Metro, who they look to protect, they're ready for the future and to make sure that they're bringing so many youngsters through. I find it interesting that they've gone this way in the transfer window. I mean, sometimes it is just about getting that trophy over the line. You see it happen all over the world where sometimes you just got to bring the guy in who's going to score the goals, get you across that line. Andre Carl's done it last year. Let's bring him in. Francesca's done it in the past in Modbury. Let's bring him in.
I like the Andre Carl signing too. I think if they feed him the ball, he's going to score goals. We know the quality of him. So, and in a team like that, whereas with Croydon, he didn't get to play as much last year. He wasn't that regular number 9 last year. So I think this year, if he is the regular number 9 and with the feed that he's going to get from the likes of Hamish Gow and Chittadini's and Satiras, I think he could really score a lot of goals. And
you might find Andre Carl just excels because he's playing in a team that's just going to be supplying him all the time.
Yeah. I'm not saying Croydon didn't, but I just think last year he obviously didn't get the game time.
Underutilised.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see. And the only other thing I do want to say was there's a change in the coaching ranks there as well with Calder. Now she's stepped aside, she's going travelling, and he's brought in actually a fellow, someone that's followed him around, or not followed, but gone with him quite a number of clubs, is Prodnovsky, who was at, I think it was Cobras he was at Cobras at one stage, I think last year, came in. He's been at Cove prior to that, so he's back into the coaching mix there.
I was just to finish off on Andre Carl, me and Simon Gimenez, who we'll hear from in a bit. We went to go watch them Metro against Croatia a couple of weeks ago. We didn't recognise Andre Carl up front whatsoever. We couldn't until someone had to explicitly tell us it was him.
He's got a fine head of hair. You can't miss him.
I know. He was tall, had the shorts up as well. Couldn't recognise him.
I'm hoping shorts are up.
No, higher than most would have, I think.
Didn't recognise you without your shorts at your
ankles. Next up, on at least in terms of last season, on the opposite end of the scale, Para Hills Knights. 2 years in a row since they've been up, they've escaped relegation on the final day of the season. They conceded the equal most goals in the NPL. Do we see it getting better for them, Marc? Expand?
Oh, do I need to?
Yes.
Apologies, but I just can't.
It's a former club. You can say
I
this.
I just can't see it getting better for them this year. They've brought in a couple of players that I know that I've seen in the terms of one in particular was Blake Ennis, a goalkeeper from Port Pirates, who was at Pontian Eagles last year as well. But the concern for me is that what they've brought in probably doesn't cater for what they've lost.
The outs are pretty extraordinary for any club with those players.
But not only that, is not just the number, but the quality. Like they've lost De Oliveira, who for me he's a fantastic midfielder.
He was the captain of the All-Stars team from memory too.
Yeah, fantastic midfielder. Everything went through him. They've lost Harrison Conant. They've lost Abu Hussein. They've lost Daman Gloramanda. And I'm just going, what have they got to replace him? Like they're big outs. And so I unfortunately don't see it getting better for them. I don't see a last day heroics this year.
And even last year we were saying all this with those players.
Yeah.
I think is one of the key points.
I absolutely agree that the outs are significant, and I'm not sure what's coming in that is as good as the outs. The other thing I sort of asked myself when I try to look at a league table is who's going to be worse? Yeah. You know, even if they weren't that bad, who of the other 11 sides is going to be worse, and I just don't think any of them are going to be worse. I think Para Hills Knights are really going to struggle this year. I think they'll still have their moments. They'll still.
They absolutely had moments last year.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Have their moments. I just don't see a last day survival moment this year.
No. I think I would imagine, without giving away my league table predictions, that they're probably going to be relegated before the last game of the season, maybe even before the second to last game of the season. But prove me wrong, Para Hills Knights.
Yeah. I think Joe's got a big task ahead of him. The new coach there, he's Joe Allison, who's stepped in from Port Pirates last year. He stepped out halfway through the year, and so I think roughly halfway through the year. So I think he's got a big task in front of him.
I mean, the other thing to consider though as well is if you're playing at NPL level, you've got to be a certain standard. You've got to be good enough. And I'm not saying that these guys aren't going to be good enough. If he can gel them, make it work somehow, then maybe they'll prove us wrong. But I'm just struggling to pick any team that's going to finish below them.
Yeah, we haven't really seen much information on them as well to see who's come in, who's stayed, etc. But I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for a lot of players there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even if he's brought them in from lower leagues, lower levels, they get to play in the NPL. They get to showcase themselves with no expectations on them. I don't think anyone is
Clearly.
expecting. I don't know if I don't think even other teams in the league would expect these guys are going to be finals. These guys are going to be. They've got this player, whatever. It's going to be no one knows anything about him.
No.
We're going to have to go to this tough away park on grass that you never know what can happen there.
Oh, yeah.
They clearly did stuff against teams like MetroStars, like other teams throughout the league that were very surprising. And even with the team last year, we didn't expect that.
Yeah.
So I think that if you're a player in that team coming in, you really got to take this opportunity because not everyone gets to play NPL.
No, you're exactly
You don't get a
right.
chance like this where you're at a team where you don't have clubs like the club expecting you to do something, sponsors expecting you to do, coaching expecting you got to do good because I'm a good coach. So this is a massive opportunity for all these players that have obviously been trusted by Joe Allison to come from different levels and they got something to prove. And if they can stay up, I think it'll be one of the biggest stories.
Yeah, you're right.
Sticking in the north, Playford next up at Ramsey Park. Isaac Mullen, their top goal scorer last season, probably a bit surprising coming from midfield. But a team who were overall, for them coming up, I think had a fine enough season last year.
Oh, they certainly had their moments. Certainly were there or thereabouts.
I think one of the particular against Para Hills Knights in that massive game.
In that game, yeah. I think again they're going to stay up. They'll be fine. They've got the players there to look at taking that next step for them, which for them this season would be getting closer to that finals or even just making that finals position. But they've got a good side. They've kept, from what I understand, they've kept Tabaris. For me is a massive in. But again, they've I don't think they've lost too many. They've looked to strengthen again in depth, which I think that's probably where they may have lacked a little bit last year, was just that depth. But I think that they're going to be fine. I think they're going to have a great season, and they've got competition for Osby. They brought Magetto in. So it's a bit of competition there, which always pushes you better anyway. So I think they're going to be fine. And you look all over the park, they've probably got at least two players in every position that could relatively start in most teams. So,
I agree with you. Luke Osby, of course, the player that I was calling by some Spanish name in round one. Do you remember that?
D'Souza, was it? Because it was listed on SofaScore or something. He was listed as D'Souza.
Because I remember looking out there thinking, I'm sure that's Osby. But yeah, D'Souza's what's down in the sheet, so we'll progress with that. Isaac Mullen, he scored one of the best goals I saw last year. Dreamy little chip at Ellis Park. They put me at Ellis Park that day. A dreamy little chip over the top of...
On the final day?
Daniel Vaughan, yeah. I think it was the final day of the home and away season.
Yeah.
Pure quality, it was just a wonderful finish. But they don't have any star players. Another team that's just a perfect ensemble group. No heroes. I don't really pick up on any egos there either. They seem like a really cohesive group as well. And like you say, I think if they can consolidate and build on last year, they should be looking at a finals berth, a top 6 spot, I think is where I think they'll end up. And, a great club to visit as well. So, yeah, I'm hoping, actually, without coming across as some kind of supporter, that they'll have a good season because I enjoy them.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot in that probably 5th to 9th that will be competing for it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Djurjevic has come in from Birkalla as well. Anthony Piscineri from Campbelltown. Patrick McGregor from Mulberry Jets. Magetto, and I think they might have picked up Cameron Harris as well from Adelaide United youth team after being cut. But I think they're a bit of an older side, and obviously the way they play is a lot of counter attacks, that kind of thing. And I think they've got the players to play that pitch to perfection. And I think they'll be a very, very tough team to beat at that ground, as they are and as they've always been for many years. And I think obviously their coach has got them playing the right way that makes them difficult for any NPL team to come up against. But I think they've added in just some good young players to fit in the rules and to push some of these older guys to the next level, because some of these players have been there since State League 2 days. Yeah. And they're the only ones that have stayed because they've worked to keep that level. Yeah. Not a lot of the players that come from there all the way up with the team. You see it in many leagues. Wrexham, you don't see many of them that are from there, from the National League days.
They all eventually just slowly stick to where their level is at, sort of thing. But they've, like those boys there, they've gone, no, we're good enough to do it, and they push themselves to get there. It's been a fantastic story.
So, yeah, it's great to see some of the really long-term players there as well. Obviously, Sam Voigt as well, retiring. So they've had to bring in some more attackers as well. But I'm looking forward to see them again this season and go up there a few times.
Sturt Lions next, promoted, of course, since 2015. They've had 2 stints in the NPL. The first one, they got relegated at the first time of asking. Their most recent one, they were in for 2 or 3 years, something like that. Are we thinking, without giving too much away, they have enough at this point in time to stay afloat for another year?
Oh, I think so. I think they're a side under Fusco. We saw last year what they were about. I think they've probably strengthened in the areas they needed to. They're one of the clubs that are also very fortunate in that they've got 2 very good goalkeepers. In the fact that they've got Meleg and Josh Kavanagh. So if you've got 2 you could put either of one of those in the number 1 spot and it wouldn't make any difference. So I think they'll be fine. I'm actually expecting a fair bit from them to be honest this year. I'm not expecting them just to stay up. So
David,
I think they've got enough to stay up. I don't think they'll be in any relegation trouble. I think they'll do okay. I'm not so sure they'll make finals, but I think for that first year, their main aim for both of the teams coming up is probably to stay up.
Yep.
I think they'll achieve that. They'd probably like to play finals if they can, and that's probably an aim that's at the back of their mind rather than the front. But I think they're a good enough side to stay up. I think Fusco's a proven coach and quality coach, and I think he'll have the tactical nuance to be able to beat other teams that he needs to in order to be able to stay up. I think there are plenty of teams there that aren't going to be as good as them over the home and away series, so I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, a couple of ins for them as well. Both the D'Agostino brothers, Adam D'Agostino and Dylan D'Agostino. Jaden Diamantis who used to be at Comets. Mohammed Hassan from Adelaide United youth team. Philemon Asefa used to play for Comets and Croydon here. And another import, Yoshi Igasaki. So I've obviously had a lot of contact with the players there. I'm very good friends with the coaches and the players there. And they're expecting a lot. I mean, you can see the successful teams for Sturt in the past have been teams where the core is good and everyone around can work enough to make it work. When they've brought in specific players for a specific role or they're expecting some player to do this, it's not worked. So the last time they came into the NPL, first year they were in, they finished 5th and they made the prelim final. Yeah. They after that it became harder, but with the players that have stayed around there, again similar to Playford's story, they've been there from the start. They've been the ones who've worked hard enough to stay in the team, stay in the NPL and be that quality. And then they've obviously added a few in and around, specifically looking like a lot in the wide areas. Yeah. They've had those central players, Moroni, Atkinson, Sortini, Rodriguez. Meleg is now the goalkeeper. But I think the wide areas is where they're looking at players to make an impact. We obviously saw so many of the youngsters last year. Sean Garrett come through, Alfredo Silvestri come through as well. And fortunately as well for them, those players already had that last year's State League 1 experience as youngsters, as under 21 players. So them coming into the team is not going to be as much of a massive change as some of these other clubs who have brought in players who have not been there the previous year, maybe not had many senior games as the previous year. Yeah. So I think that's going to work in their favour, and I'm expecting good things from them as well, and specifically seeing the way that John Fusco set them up compared to previous iterations of Sturt under Goddard, under Lino Fusco. I think the way they play has been meticulated in a way that it's very hard to play against. Yeah. They make you run the pitch. They don't make it so go into an area and figure out what happens from there. It's we're going to make you go around and then we're going to outnumber you somewhere. Yeah. So I'm really expecting to see a lot of things from them this year, and I expect to see a lot of youngsters come out of there as well.
Great club as well, run by the Van der Viekens. John Van der Vieken I've known for many years, and he's always been very hospitable when I've gone there. There's an Irish drink. It's black and it has a very white sort of frothy top, and he's always been very kind and generous with that. So if we do get out there, I'm expecting that Irish drink. We can't product endorse here, of course. So it's black, has a very white top. It looks a little bit.
Way to settle.
Yeah, that's right. It looks a little bit like Bono did in the 80s when he had his hair blonde.
The other promoted team, West Adelaide, getting promoted through the final series. They got relegated in 2019. They've been promoted once since then. Went straight back down, and they've also lost their 2 star players and goal scorers in Rovu Boyes, who's now playing in the OFC Pro League, and Yuya Kato, which we mentioned earlier, now at Croydon.
Yes, but they've also recruited quite heavily.
Yes.
So they've lost their coach. They lost their coach that was probably the mastermind behind them getting promoted. He's obviously stepped into the Adelaide United women's role. He's still the technical director at West Adelaide. And I still like to think, and I know it's probably not the case, but I still think he's probably going to have some involvement in the coaching because his assistant has stepped in, which is Ben, can't think of his surname off the top of my head, but that's all right. Cockerell, Ben Cockerell, has stepped into the role, but I still think I still think Theo's going to play a part in how the first team is shaped up and looks. But for me, I think they've recruited quite well. And for me, the one player that I really, really, really want to see do well and get the game time is Riley Stam. We saw what he could do at Para Hills under Theo in State League One. It didn't quite work from Adelaide United in the NPL and things like that. He struggled a little bit at FK Beograd because he started off the season as their number one striker and then didn't quite work. They moved Trimboli in and we all know what happened there with Trimboli just having an absolute tear up of a season. So I'm really hoping he finds his feet at West Adelaide and can really take another step. So that's probably the player I'm looking forward to seeing hopefully do really well this year.
Kilburn in the NPL with double headers as well with the women's team are really massive for them as well. It's a great venue which we've through the WNPL been to quite a few times now, and since opening it's been pretty much a fortress for the women's side.
Yeah, I covered a couple of games there when they were in State League One just to fill in my Sunday afternoons because Friday and Saturday wasn't quite enough for me. The media room up there is quite good, very echoey though, which is a little bit of a problem. Hopefully you put some carpet down in that room just to sort of dull the echo in there. But yeah, just to go back to your point, Robbie Boyer's a bit of a loss, and he's moved over to the Oceania competition based in New Zealand, I think. But I'm hoping Riley Stam can be the replacement for him. You know, when we saw Riley Stam 2, 3, maybe even 4 years ago when he was at Para Hills Knights, we were really impressed with him. He had a great year, and he looked the business, didn't he? Didn't quite work out for him at Adelaide United. Then didn't quite work out for him at FK Beograd. So I'm hoping, for his sake, that it does work out for him at West Adelaide. Lovely guy and has so much potential as well. They're led from the back. Jackson O'Donnell is a perfect captain, a perfect leader there. He gets involved as well outside of football. You know, we went down there for a social thing. He was up there running it with Nicole Tilley as well. So he's very much the club man and certainly leads from the back. Recently got married, so congratulations.
Yes.
His bride looks way out of his league, to be honest. Man alive, how did he do that? But back to the football. They are missing those attacking strikers, Boyers, as we mentioned before, and Cato. But they're just two significant losses, whereas I think you're right. I think those players potentially coming in have the potential, not potentially coming, the players that are coming in have the potential to replace that plus. And their squad depth doesn't look too bad either. Right. So I think the two promoted sides in West Adelaide and Sturt, I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, about 8 or 9 new signings they announced as well. West Adelaide with Maxim Ivanic coming across from Beograd, Inaki Rodriguez, Riley Stam, Siddiqui Dukuli, Keshav Stresta, Jaden Gasking, which is an interesting one, a former Australian youth international, Ali Reyes Maradi, and Diego Oliveira, of course.
And Banjak.
So that's the 9th.
Banjak from FK.
So a lot of signings, and in my opinion, I think this is what's going to lead them to struggle this year. I mean, a lot of those players have come across from Para Hills.
Yep.
Obviously, they would have known that the coach is not going to be Theo this year, and it would be his assistant, and I'm not sure how much involvement he'll have. But I think they're going to struggle with fitting all these players in the team, trying to fit them in with the existing players there that have been there for a while. Golan, Dion Kirk, Jackson O'Donnell, players that have been there through thick and thin. These players are just coming through now when they're in the NPL. Maybe there's a bit of a difference between the levels of those. And there's a lot of players there that need something to prove. Siddiqui Dukuli has not played senior football before. That Jaden Gasking, he was at Sutherland, I'm sure, from last year. Didn't really play much, played in the under-20s mostly. Had obviously a great youth career with the Australian youth team. Maxim Ivanic had a starting role near the end of the season, but was in and out as well. He obviously worked his way in with some great goals off the bench, but I think it's a tough moment. West Adelaide usually do this when they come up. They bring in a lot of players. They have a bit of money to use as well. But hopefully they've got it right this year. But in my opinion, this might be a bit of a struggle for them.
Finally, West Torrens Birkalla, of course, came up last year, started greatly. I think one of the highlights, Tyrese Conway, round 1, coming off the bench, scoring a hat-trick. ended up being their top goal scorer. Finished just in finals as well. A solid season overall from them last season.
Yeah, I found them to be very inconsistent at times. Like you just weren't sure.
So you were probably Mr. Jack Smith Park.
I was there quite a number of times. I was there. I was the equivalent to them, to you, David, of the Comets. But so I got to see quite a number of their games, and at times I found them very inconsistent. Like one week they'd absolutely trounce a team 3-0, and then the following week or the next home game they would get trounced 3-0, and you're like, well, look, what's happened with that performance? So. I think if they can get some consistency, then they'll be fine. But like I said, and when I say consistency, it's just in the performances. Instead of losing 3-0, then winning 3-0, like keep it closer in those sort of terms. They'll be okay. I think Jurjevic is a big out. I really rated him last year. He was very good for them at the back. So I think he's a big out for them. But they've brought in other players. Obviously, they've brought in the likes of Clark. They've already got Lecornu at the back as well. They've got Mr. Reliable Harpus in goal for them, who club captain, been there a number of years now. But for me, they utilise players. They've lost young Becker as well, who's gone up to Cove. So it's a bit of squad depth there lost in that player, because I did like Becker. But I think for me, the key player that they need to keep fit and they need to keep on the pitch and do everything they can to feed him is Klassen Thomas. This kid, I watched him a number of times last season, and he is a proper number 9.
And a team that also has someone like George Blackwood in it too. That one of the in preseason, one of the star signings of the league.
Yeah,
in George Blackwood.
You got Blackwood. You've got Welsh. They actually were at times putting Blackwood into the midfield to cater for Klassen Thomas. Welsh played in the midfield most of the year. I felt that they struggled a little bit in terms of age with Welsh and things like that. Sometimes it got a bit quick for them, I felt. But that also put that down to it was a new team, like a lot of new players all together and things like that. So there's many different things, and obviously with Welsh as well, he's a fiery, like it's a physical job. So completely understand that. But I think if for Birkalla to step up that or go further with finals and things like that, they all need to pull in the same direction. They all need to make sure that they're on their game and just reduce that inconsistency. And like I said, Klassen Thomas, for me, the more he's on the pitch, the more goals they're going to score.
Yeah, for me, they were massive underachievers last year. I think when I saw that group moving over from Comets and all the players that you've named there, Klassen Thomas and Tyrese Conway's re-signed.
Believe so.
We believe so. So, I mean, when you talk about the players and the names that you've mentioned there, for me last year, they promised a lot, but just didn't quite deliver. And if they can get it together this year, then I think they'll do quite well. Not sure what the secret is or why they haven't managed to achieve that or why they didn't achieve it last year. But for me, they were last year's great underachievers. This year, it's much the same side, really, isn't it? They haven't really lost a lot of key players, and they haven't.
As far as we know, Jared Clark, Kane Vidmar, and Soy Zarkani.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're good players as well. Soy Zarkani, he finished well at Eastern United, didn't he? Had a few disciplinary issues, but other than that, that's a really good list of players. I mean, why did it not do so well last year? And what's different that it's going to achieve more in 2026? Impossible to predict for me because I thought they would do better last year. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, talk about those ins as well. We did talk about Reece Jurjevic leaving, of course, but those two centre-back ins, Kane Vidmar and Jared Clark, I think it's a massive year for both of them. I mean, I know they're very good friends as well off the park, but both players who need a good season or have deserved more minutes than they have in the past. I mean, Kane Vidmar, a lot of us expected to be part of A-League teams elsewhere, maybe even interstate. Obviously, he was part of the under-23 national team as well. And he's obviously come to Birkalla. I'm fairly sure it's his junior club. And we haven't really seen him in our leagues, at least for a couple of years now. But having that A-League experience.
The grand final winning team for United for half the season before he went to Western United. Yeah,
so having that A-League experience, I expect a lot from him this year. And especially Jared Clark as well, someone we saw come in many times for Beograd in the centre of defence, centre of midfield, do so well, but he could just never get that starting spot. So I'm excited to see those two at the back. Soy Zarkani as well, coming back to Birkalla, where he was so successful before. Again, maybe some more age interesting issues there with their squad. It's quite old. They've obviously lost Becker, lost Boris Glushkov
Yep.
to Cobras as well. So I'm not sure how they're going to fix that. I know they have some great young reserve players with their reserve team always doing so well in the leagues. And I think one I might come to later, who's one of my standouts to look out for this season. But I think they might have some issues with trying to fit all those players in the team this year.
With that, all the clubs we have now gone through onto our predictions and other notes, starting with players to watch or player to watch. I've got two. One of them, I'm not sure if this is who you're going to talk about for Birkalla. Seb Smith.
You have to wait and see.
Young player, scored heaps of goals in reserves, got, I think, 2 matches in the end. But another big prospect for them, almost in the vein of Brody Burker. And then, of course, Asad Kazumovic. We've seen him before here, seen him, what he's done in interstate, scoring in the Australia Cup against A-League sides. Just a player to look out for an Adelaide City side, which, at least going off the vibe so far, we seem to think are going to have a good year.
Yeah. Well, I had him as part of some of the ones I was talking about, but I'll let him go because you've had him as well. So the two I'm looking out for is Mohammed Hassan for Sturt Lions, come across from Adelaide United youth team, and by all accounts has had a fantastic preseason, will be the starting winger, scored a couple of goals off the bench for United Youth last year, but has got a real big backing there from John Fusco. And the other one is Julian Alessio for Campbelltown as a young striker. And we're talking about Claston Thomas. I feel like he's a very similar form player, built kind of the same, plays the same, and can always find the back of the net. I'm pretty sure he scored a bunch of goals in reserves last year. So I've seen him play in pre-season, and it looks like if those other attackers that Campbelltown have might be in behind, he might be the target man for them.
With the players to look out for, I always like to try and pick someone who's maybe a bit less known, but I found that a bit difficult with NPL. So I'm thinking Jaden Labasso, because he's at a team that he's going to receive ball supply from. I don't think he achieved his full potential at Comets last year. I don't think that supply was good enough. It was a low-scoring team. So I think he's going to do really well in terms of his striking ability up the top end of the park. And people always or often will pick out strikers because they're always looking for the goals. But I think Jackson O'Donnell at West Adelaide is going to be one to look out for this year as well. The goalkeeper at West Adelaide. I'm not sure of his history. Has he played NPL before?
Yeah.
He has.
MetroStars.
With MetroStars, right. So he's been around for a little while. Has the experience, obviously. But I just think this is a chance for him to shine, coming up with West Adelaide. And the club spirit that we mentioned before, the engagement that he seems to have with the club. I think he'll lead from the back, and I like to have a goalkeeper or a defender in my players to watch as well. So I pick him as my second.
I was going to add with Jaden Labasso, it's probably also beneficial in his case that maybe at Comets it was him and Aladdin Irabona as the two sort of talisman for that side, whereas he's going to a Campbelltown side where there's 4 or 5 players that are scoring the goals, and they're not going to maybe rely on just him and one other player. I think is a good shout.
Yeah. One of my players to watch, Claston Thomas, I think he's going to take it to another level this year because I don't think he didn't start the season. He came in during the season into the team a lot more. So I just think he's going to be, I think he'll just be able to take his game to another level this year. I think with the fact that they know what he can do now, they can go, we trust you to bring those players in, and he'll create more around himself as well, just because he's not only a goal scorer, but he's also a willing runner. He'll make the runs that people don't see, which creates space for someone else to drift into and things like that. So quite interesting to see him again this year. I've already spoken about Riley Stam as well. But yeah, so for me, I think those two, I just want to see how they progress now that they've, like I said, two different ends of the spectrum for them. Stam not having the best of luck of late. Claston Thomas, a bit more known, but it'd be interesting to see how they both go.
Next up, the 2 teams that will be in the Cup final, therefore the 2 teams that will be representing us in the Australia Cup National. So we're going to say the 2 players in that match and then who's going to win the Cup. My Cup final is MetroStars and Adelaide City, with Adelaide City winning the Cup.
Mine is also those 2, MetroStars and Adelaide City. I alluded to at the start of talking about Adelaide City. I think both those teams are just the most complete squad-wise. They're the ones who would be allowed to go further in the competition just because in the league maybe they just have enough to worry about more than one competition. I think the other clubs who maybe could do with a cup run or be great for the club, I think it's just out of their reach at the moment. Their squad is not as built as those two. I didn't pick a winner, but I guess I'll go Adelaide City.
Well, believe it or not, I also think MetroStars and Adelaide City will be the two teams that compete in the final. I think Adelaide City have got that thing in the back of their mind about being back in the national stage, and this is obviously their chance to go through this unless they can get it via the championship. I'm looking forward to the old NSL matchup between Adelaide City and West Adelaide. Just to digress a little bit, I went to a few of those games at Hindmarsh many years ago, and to see that rivalry back on the plate, if you like, is something that excites me greatly. But yeah, MetroStars, Adelaide City in the final. Adelaide City return to the national stage, and who would win that? Well, I'll go MetroStars.
Any different, Mark?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a state league team in the final?
No, I don't have a state league team in the final, but I've actually gone for an FK Beograd Adelaide City final.
No Plimpton then.
No Plimpton.
Okay.
So, so I'm going an FK and Adelaide City final. Just throw something out there. I think, like I said, it's the cup. You just never know what's going to happen with the cup. Anything can happen with it. So I'm just like, you know what? Let's see what they can do. FK will really want a trophy this year. I mean, they all do, but I just thought, you know what? Let's see what they're made of.
Got close last year.
Yeah. So I'm going to go, and I'll put FK to win just to be a little bit different.
Golden Boot up next. I have Luis Lola Tanzio from Adelaide City.
I have Asad Kasumovic from Adelaide City.
Dylan Klassen Thomas or Riley Stam, late incomer. Maybe they'll draw. Maybe they'll the same number of goals.
I've gone with Andre Carl at Metro or a Marc Marino at Campbelltown.
And goalkeeper of the year, Daniel Margush from Croydon.
You suck.
I've gone Jackson O'Donnell from West Adelaide.
I'd initially thought Jackson O'Donnell, but you just said Margush and I forgot all about him. He was very good last year, wasn't he?
He was very, very good. And I picked him at the start of the year to be very, very good.
Yeah. I'll stick with my original, which was Jackson O'Donnell.
I'm going with Margush. Back to back.
Yeah. Next up, our league table. But before that, our final voice note of our season previews. We'll have a listen to.
This is Gabby. My predictions are quite simple. Firstly, we're going to start with David Grant. My prediction is David Grant at the Celebration of Football 2026 will be wearing his Scottish outfit. Then, Johnny Keiko. My prediction is they will be heading to White City at any time during the year to eat cevapi rather than doing his media duties. And lastly, but most importantly, the man himself, Alessio Carocci, will he finally start a game for Moan Barker? Or will he sit on the bench once again? That's all for my predictions.
So many questions to be answered.
That's just brilliant. That's just brilliant.
All
Can
right.
I just firstly say it's not a Scottish outfit? It's a Scottish costume. That's not a costume.
I'll just say we beat Eastern United both years he's been coach. So.
All right, league table predictions. 12th and 11th go down. 6th to 1st is finals, and 1st is obviously I can't remember. I get them confused. The Premier?
Yes.
Minor
Yes.
Premier, yeah.
It's the two I get mixed around. So, 12th place.
Or we're going breaking it right down.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I starting this time?
We'll go around from me.
Okay.
Para Hills.
Para Hills.
Para Hills.
Oh, Para Hills.
Motivation for Para Hills once again. 11th place, I've got Sturt.
I've got Adelaide United youth team.
I've got Adelaide Comets.
I've got Adelaide Comets.
In 10th, I have Adelaide Comets, just avoiding.
Same. I have Adelaide Comets 10th.
I've got Adelaide United, just avoiding.
I've got Adelaide United.
By the way, we don't talk about these predictions.
We don't talk about
any
these
of these.
at all, no.
9th place, West Adelaide.
West Adelaide.
Sturt.
West Adelaide.
8th place, I have Adelaide United.
Birkalla.
I've got West Adelaide.
I've got Campbelltown.
We'll go back to that in a bit. In 7th, West Torrens Birkalla I've got.
Playford.
I've got West Torrens Birkalla as well.
Birkalla.
6th place, starting finals, Playford make it in just.
Sturt make it in just.
Campbelltown City.
Sturt.
5th place, I have Campbelltown City.
Croydon.
FK Beograd.
Playford.
Fourth place, I have FK Beograd.
Campbelltown.
I've got Playford.
FK Beograd.
Oh, we might go back to yours, David. Third place, I have Croydon.
Beograd.
Croydon.
Croydon.
Second place, MetroStars.
MetroStars.
Adelaide City.
Adelaide City.
First place, Adelaide City.
Adelaide City.
MetroStars.
Metro.
Okay. What was the one I was going to come back to you on?
Comets.
No, it
Adelaide.
wasn't that one. It was higher up the table.
United in 10th, West Adelaide in 9th, Campbelltown in 8th.
Yes.
Campbelltown in 8th. And the reason, so I look at obviously what they did last year. And for me, the only thing that worries me about them is that I felt they played a long ball, very narrow a lot last year. And I don't know if that was because of the players that he had at his disposal or what the reason is behind that. But I also look at it and I felt it was very individual. And that's my concern is when I look at the likes of the Metros and the Adelaide Cities and that they all play very much as a team. There's very much, I feel, a team feel around the place. Whereas for me, Campbelltown City, I know they've brought in a lot of players, but I'm just not sure if they're going to progress to finals in the fact that I just see them relying on an individual brilliance to win them a game, which a Mullen header or a Labasso absolute worldie or a Marino 35-yarder type thing. So that and you know what I said, football's a game of opinion. I could be completely wrong, but that's just how I said. And I also when I did watch their games last year, I found that like their 11 players were like that in you could throw almost a sheet over them. It was very tight and congested. So I just think that it didn't quite suit them. Like I said, the new signings might expand the way they play. I don't know, but that's just where I think.
What was I coming back to you on? I don't remember.
I can't remember. Was it Playford?
Fourth.
Yes, Playford in fourth. You have them quite high up.
Well, it depends because they could.
You can't
They
say
could be,
depends
they could be
after
in finals
predicting
in
it.
fourth place on goal difference. There could be 3 teams all tied in the same number of points. No, I just think if they're building on last year, then they're going to automatically by that statement, they're going to be a couple of places further up than they were last year. And they finished 7th last year, just missed out in finals, I think, from memory.
Right, yeah.
So improving on that is
6th, sorry.
6.
Oh, Playford, sorry.
Yeah,
Finished last.
8th, sorry, yes.
yeah. So they just missed it, and I think they missed out by a point, maybe even goal difference.
I think it was final day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I commentated in their last game, and I think they needed to win and rely on results elsewhere, not going the way of the teams that needed to. There's 3 teams that were trying to get into that 6.
And again, I think it's going to be quite similar this year in the fact that there's going to be like 4 or 5 teams all within a point of each other to make those final 2 spots in the final or the playoffs type thing. So,
Yeah. So I think Playford will scrape in. I made the mistake of having, you know how when we did the WNPL, I had 13 teams because it was when we did the state league. I had Cumberland listed twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had Campbelltown up at second, and I knew that wasn't right. So then I shuffled them down, but that threw all my numbers out. So I actually don't know where I've got Playford. But if it's 4th, I stand by it. I think they'll get to finals.
Sturt to have a big year, Alessio.
And you to say Sturt have a really bad year, second to bottom.
I was with Alessio.
I think they have the consistency now under a new coach and the way they've played. Like sometimes you see teams that come up that are just better than the teams that are around them. I think if you had that Sturt team last year playing in the NPL, they would have finished above some of those bottom 3-4 teams. The way they play is a completely different ball game to a lot of promoted teams where they have one guy who's going to score heaps of goals. That's it. Last year you had Munro, you had Rodriguez, you had Sortini, you had Soisakani, all these people scoring goals. And at the back, is there much better at the back than Barnett, Munro, Jacob Watson, Duffy, and now they've just gotten even better with a lot of their wide players as well, which is probably one thing you could pin on them last year and the last few years as well. Even the years they were in the NPL in the past, in the state leagues, they probably didn't have a star winger. And they tried to sign some star wingers. I mean, Tyrese Conway was there. He had a decent season there, but obviously didn't stay for very long. And I don't think many wingers had stayed there for very long, had such a good career there. Even Voigt was there in the past and other players. So I think they've really tried to fix that and bring in a lot of wide players this year. And I can only see them having such a great year and knowing their past and the interesting stat of teams being promoted to make finals in their first year.
True.
I've got them up there.
That's why I've gone for it. I
True.
was like, do I go West Adelaide or Sturt?
I
I was like, I'll go with Sturt making finals purely on that.
I think for me, that sort of 8th to 11th bracket was another one of those sort of ones where it was, I feel like any of those four
it's
could be
gonna be-
anywhere. And I
yeah.
think it was the team that was sort of
For me,
out of all those,
yeah.
I think.
And again, I think Para Hills are going to get left adrift, unfortunately. But then I go, like, I've put Comets to get relegated. But when I look at it, you go, for me, I think they're going to be quite close between them and United. And
Yeah.
then when it gets to West Adelaide, Campbelltown, Birkalla, Sturt, Playford type thing, that
That's
fifth
what I
to,
think too.
it's going to be so tight. Like last year, it came down to the last game. It came down to 1 point or goal
Yeah,
difference.
exactly.
And I think it's going to be exactly like that again. And that's where the top sort of four, your FK, Croydon, Adelaide City, they're all going to be that little bit further ahead again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to be grouped like that again this year.
Yeah, I kind of see them as clubs that are going upwards.
Yeah.
Clubs that have maybe just been there and they're falling down. That's what, in my opinion, Comets were. They've won the league that many years, made the grand final that many years. I don't think they're going like this at the moment.
Yeah.
I think maybe they're slowly going there or they're maybe leveling out. But Sturt, they already had that fall. They've restarted. Now they're back on the up compared to other teams like Para Hills, Adelaide United youth team. Then I don't think they're where they were in the last couple of years with star players coming back and the same, but each to their own.
And I think these teams play for them this year. It's their next step is making the finals. FK Beograd will be making it past first round. Like that's my thinking is that they're going to go that next step in the finals. I said Sturt, I think I've put them in to make that last final spot, but again, it could chop and change a little bit between Birkalla, Campbelltown. But as you said, Alessio, there's some more often than not, there's a team that comes up somehow makes like they just have a great season, make finals. So I think they're all going to just, like I said, I think FK will just take that next step. Playford might, and their next step is that finals berth. So it'll be quite an interesting season.
We'll wait and see. Grand final winner, Adelaide City for me.
I have Adelaide City versus Campbelltown in the grand final.
Oh, wow. Getting very particular.
And I say Adelaide City to win.
I hadn't written this one down, but it's going to be between 3 or 4. And
Well, only 2 teams can play in the match, David.
that's true. It would be kind of cool if they had 14
Divided into quarters.
2 balls in the middle. That's back to my old schoolyard days. Maybe I'll go for Adelaide's. No, I'm going to go for MetroStars. This is the year they finally break the hoodoo and the whole final series. And suddenly Danny Greystone thinks finals are great. He thinks they're wonderful. So yeah, I'll go for MetroStars.
Marc?
I've gone with Metro. I think they're going to get over the line this year. I think this is the year they break the duck. They finally get over the line and take the big trophy home. And finals are the best thing ever.
Before we finish up, we'll hear our last...
Hear that, Rob? I got you.
We'll hear our last lot of predictions from Simon Gimenez, another one of our commentators.
G'day guys, good to be chatting to you again. I'm pumped for a big year in 2026, and with that I'm going to give a few of my predictions, starting with State League 2. Got to pick a winner for the North to start with, and for that I'm going Modbury Vista. They've been close over the last couple of years. They've just missed out on promotion, but for that reason I think they're going to be round about the mark this year, and I think they're going to run away with the North League. Over to South, I'm going to be picking Vipers. Picked up Dimmy Panner from Comets. I think promotion is exactly the thing they'll be shooting for, and I think they would have prepared accordingly. So that is my tip for the State League 2 South winner. Of course, the 2 teams are going to face off in the grand final, and with that, I'm going to go with Vista to secure the first promotion spot. They've been the bridesmaids over the last couple of years, and I think they deserve to finally get rewarded for their efforts. So with that, I'm behind you guys, Vista. My big call for the year, and this one's going with the heart a little bit because I called Port Pirie home for a couple of years. Northern Demons to move up the ladder and become a bit of a contender at finals time. They had a couple of big pickups, and hopefully they're going to see some reward for that as well. Moving over across to Women's State League, I'm tipping the league winner as Adelaide City. They came down from NPL. They were previously a powerhouse of the WNPL, and I think that is where they belong. So with that, I think they're going to want to go straight up again. My big call Sturt Lions came close last year, so I think my big call is that they're also going to push Adelaide City all the way and be a very close contender for that top spot in the Women's State League as well. Over to State League 1, that's a bit of a wild card league. We know anything can happen, so it was a bit of a tricky one to pick some standouts. League winner, Fulham United, second last year behind Sturt, who were a little bit of a runaway winner. I was impressed seeing him play last year, so I'm basing my prediction off of that. Grand final winner, someone a little bit different, Adelaide Blue Eagles. Some big pickups, some very mature players picked up during the off-season as well, and I think that makes a difference during big games. So based on that, that's what we're going for. My big call for State League 1 is Cove. I think they're going to be a finals contender. Back half of the season last year was big. They picked up some big players, especially from South Adelaide. So I think they're serious about becoming a State League 1 contender. We'll see what happens. On the flip side of that, relegation, I'm predicting South Adelaide. They lost so many top players mid last year, and it was a bit of a free fall from that point. So unless they made moves in the off-season, I think they're potentially looking in just a little bit of danger. Over to the WNPL, I'm tipping league winner to be West Adelaide. Finals disappointment last year, but they were just too good throughout the year. Undefeated, so I think there's safe money to do the same. Not undefeated, but to at least win the league in 2026. Grand final winner, I'm going someone different though, Salisbury Inter. They're just a team that I really enjoyed watching last year. And West Adelaide, to be honest, seem a little bit cursed at this point in the finals. So with that, I'm going to go for somebody else. My big call is for Modbury Vista to make finals in their promotion year. WNPL, we know how unpredictable it can be, so I think if Vista are consistent, then the door might be left open for them to do something exciting. They've picked up some quality, so I think they can be a factor in this league. Relegation prediction, unfortunately, is Flinders. They were poor last year, and I don't know what they've done to present differently this year. Adelaide Uni were pretty poor too, but despite finishing below, Flinders actually lost more games than them, so that's unfortunately what's influenced the prediction for them. Finally, NPL. Tipping a new league winner this year, and that is, actually I won't say who it is yet, but I will say this. I think with the Australian Championship qualification there, it has bigger implications in the league than ever before, and we know there's one team that sees themselves as the one that needs to be representing South Australia on the national stage. So I'm going with Adelaide City. Some big pickups, and I think they're just going to fight. I think Adelaide City want that Australian Championship spot so badly, so I think they're willing to fight for it. MetroStars, of course, will be pushing them all the way, but I think realistically they might be the two teams that we're looking at, so I'm giving Adelaide City the edge. However, grand final winner, I'm going to go for a bit of an upset here. MetroStars, because they've been the second place, the bridesmaid throughout grand finals, despite their amazing league record over the last few years. So maybe when it comes to that big game, that grand final, I think it's going to be Metro that are going to fight and bite and scratch and do everything that they need to do. So a little bit of an outside chance for the grand final. I'm going to be tipping MetroStars there. My big call, I guess it's a big call across the board. I think Adelaide City are going to score a huge amount of goals this year with their pickups. And I think Francesco Scamizzi may be the one to score the Lions' share of them. So that's the big call, him to score a lot of goals. He was a bit lonely up front last year, Scamizzi, with Modbury, but he's going to have so much support on the wings and through the middle with Adelaide City this year. So I think that's going to be a big difference, and I think he's going to put up some serious numbers. Relegation, unfortunately, I'm going to be going for Para Hills. They avoided relegation in like the 98th minute last year with that late goal. They've lost players as well. I'm just not really sure where they're at the moment. So yeah, unless Para Hills can really surprise us, I think, unfortunately, it looks like they're a bit of a shoo-in for that relegation place. Guys, it was a pleasure. I'm all out of time, and I'll catch you throughout the year.
Thank you for that, Simon. Your contribution valued as always. Just to finish off, someone brought up a good point. Championship, of course, on the line. We've seen what it looks like, how it plays out. In prospect for clubs, that's something that I think, from what we've seen, they want to be a part of.
Oh, well, why would you not want to be a part of it? National stage. I actually quite enjoyed the tournament as a whole. I thought it was a great way to start off. I'll do air quotes on it. Is that second tier of football? And yeah, I just hope it continues and continually grows. We saw the teams in it and winners and finalists. But you see them regularly as well in the Australia Cup do well and things like that. So I think it's just a great opportunity for those clubs to get more exposure. They're starting to bring in bigger, like they'll start to sign more players. I think it's just, for me, it's all positive. I know it extends the season for those clubs, but that's what they want to do anyway. They want to be pros. So you've got to expect to play those more games. You've got to expect that you're going to have more trainings. You've got to expect to get soft tissue injuries like Metro did after a long season. It just means you have to work out how you're going to manage that. So back to the coach and how they approach it. But I loved it. I was all for it.
Anything to add, David? Alessio?
I found it positive. I was actually overseas for a bit of it, but saw some of it online. If I had to be critical of it, or if I had to pick up any criticisms, I would say that I kind of hope that it doesn't become or diminish. I'll rephrase it. I hope that it doesn't diminish our NPL. I want our NPL to be the second tier, to be regarded as the second division. I don't want this championship to become the second division and there only to be one South Australian club in it. The other alternative is it's opened up to maybe 2 or maybe even 3 South Australian clubs. I'd like to see more South Australian involvement in it. There's only one spot for us right now. So that's my only, it's not even a criticism. I guess it's something I'm wary of. Yeah. I want our NPL to be the second tier nationally. And I just hope this championship doesn't diminish that.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we get some more crowds at them as well. I mean, potentially it's because in the past MetroStars had not been attracting the largest of crowds before. Maybe if an Adelaide City goes in, a Playford goes in, a team that you can see it's easily advertisable for the state to be like, oh, you guys remember Adelaide City in the NSL? What about if they're in the championship now? Everyone will come out, go to maybe not at Hindmarsh, but somewhere you can get maybe Marden, maybe Service FM, somewhere where you can get a decent amount of fans that makes it look bigger. Because I guess maybe it didn't have the best show for people watching us at the MetroStars games at TK Shutter with not the biggest of crowds. I mean, they can't do much more about that. They promoted it as much as they could. Yep. They had those little player cards. A lot of their people that already come into their games all came out, brought everyone they could. But maybe to advertising it better to the wider audience would be what we need to do in SA a bit more.
Absolutely. It was a fun tournament to have and watch, and got to even travel over interstate to watch Metro versus Heidelberg. However disappointing it ended up, but overall a pretty positive experience, I think, for the neutrals and fans
certainly
watching.
Positive. And the good thing is you can take away things from it to grow it again. And that's the good thing about it, is there are the positives. There's always going to be negatives. And that's where you go, okay, what were the negatives? How can we learn from those negatives? How can we turn them into a positive, as David said? Can we turn around? But the other thing as well, the SA started with only one spot in the Australia Cup, and we've now got 2. So it just takes time to build and things like that. And I think it will get there, hopefully.
Lastly, from you, David.
Oh, I was just going to mention that. That's a very smart shirt you've got on there, Seb. Can you tell us anything about that, Marc?
I might be able to. Pega have jumped on board and thrown us some shirts to wear for all the season previews, which has been fantastic. So thank you very much to Pega. And if you do need your attire, reach out to Costa. And again, thank you to all the guys that have lent us and let us borrow all these kits that you see behind us, which was Pega, Macron, and Belgravia Sports. Obviously, there are probably our 3, and there's only a couple of other kit suppliers. We also do have, actually, I will mention it because I haven't so far, is FK Beograd, who use Umbro, and I didn't know who their supplier was, so the club lent me the kit. But all the others came from suppliers. The only other supplier that I didn't get a hold of was Archie Christakis at Pro Sport, who deals with a couple of clubs as well, including our champions from last year, Croydon. But we tried to get as many on very short notice as I could, so apologies for those that I missed out. But yes, Pega jumped on board, and hopefully we'll see them more featured in our season this year.
And my thanks as well to MetroStars, who lent me their Indigenous shirt from last year as well. So thanks to the clubs that donated too.
Absolutely. That is us done. After many hours of chatting and recording, our season previews are all done. We'll be back on the 25th for our regular show all throughout the season. But to the 3 of you, thank you so much for chatting and going through all this stuff again, and look forward to doing all this again, even bigger next year.
And don't be afraid to come up and chat to us if you see us at games, tell us what you think.
Or berate us for what we said today.
Absolutely. Feel free to, we stand by what we've said. So especially you, Alessio. You were very come up and say hello, and if you think that we've got some of these predictions wrong, then let us know.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. All our season previews back next week. But until then, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.